You're listening to the Feed Your Wild podcast, a conscious lifestyle show about all things nourishing for your body, mind, and soul. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, and join me for candid conversations with changemakers, exploring health and wellness, food as medicine, intuition and spirituality, and nature-based practices that will transform your health and feed all parts of your wild self. Welcome to Feed Your Wild. I am your host, Vanessa Rodriguez, and your intuitive nourishment guide for today. I'm pretty stoked on getting into this episode because we are talking about this new moon in Taurus and partial, but pretty powerful solar eclipse. It is the first eclipse of the year and starts us off into eclipse season. We all know how that can go. Pretty intense and volatile if we look at the past several years, to put it lightly, really. But this season is one of my favorite seasons, and it's not just because this week was Feed Your Wild's 4th birthday. Yes, Feed Your Wild is a Taurus. And that was not done on purpose. She kind of just came through when she wanted, sort of like my son. He came in unexpectedly, but of course, these both are such amazing gifts and different types of babies, if you will. So first, just wanted to say thank you so much if you've been listening to Feed Your Wild for the past 4 years and you're an oldie OG listener. I am so grateful that, first of all, you are still here. And second of all, for supporting by listening. So the first layer of support of this podcast is literally just listening to the podcast. And when you do so, you become part of the collective field of this podcast. And if you didn't know and haven't tuned into the Akashic Soul Nourishment record readings and channelings that I do on this podcast, then I will have you know that your energy and frequency is part of that collective field. And so any Akashic reading that I do is including your guides and sort of our collective guides on this path and journey together. So there's definitely some message, some sort of direction, advice, and pieces of clarity that you might glean from listening into these Akashic channelings. And I hope that they have been and continue to be supportive for you. If you're a new listener, welcome. We are already at episode 207. I am working on actually numbering all the episodes so that when I reference the numbers, you guys can go back and take a look. But yeah, we've passed the 200 episode mark. So we're at 207 right now. That means that there are 206 other episodes to check out. There's lots of content and material, lots of other Akashic channelings, even if they're for another particular month and year. There is always something there for you. And I say they're perennial. It's like a perennial garden where the gifts and the information just continue to give and support us no matter what the time is, because we are living in spiralic time, in deep time, right? We're not in this linear time anymore. We're not operating that way because that is not actually reality. So I want to just let you know that you can listen in and tune into those, even though it might be for 3 years ago even. And I also wanted to plant a seed and also to stake my commitment to completing this project. I'm really excited to announce that I'm putting together an Akashic Soul Nourishment audiobook. So I am collecting all of the past episodes and Akashic channelings and messages and putting them together in this collective tapestry, if you will. So they come together and the messages sort of weave together like a tapestry. And I received the message that it's time to put them together in a book, in a compilation. So I'm working on that right now. And I'm also looking out for any artists out there that are interested in contributing their art based off of the readings. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn more or reach out, the best way would be to email me or DM me on Instagram. My handle is @wildlyrooted, and you can reach out to me through email using the email hello@wildlyrooted.com. So you can also just go to my website, wildlyrooted.com, and fill out the contact form there too. So there's many ways to reach out. But again, if you are an artist and are a listener of the podcast and would like to contribute in some way, I would be so honored and grateful and would love to showcase your artwork. And you can learn more about what that would look like, since I'm putting the project together literally as I speak into this microphone right now. So I'm excited for that to be birthed later. And I'm right in the middle of it. I don't know what's going to come of it. I'm just sort of following the guidance and the lead that I'm receiving. So that's how things have been operating for me, but also definitely for so many of you over the past 3 years. It's kind of like, I know I say this all the time on the podcast and in my last episode with Megan, but when you plan, God laughs and I've really felt that, especially the past 2 to 3 years. It's like trying to have a content calendar and a schedule. I really can't go beyond like a month because things change so quickly and timelines are shifting so rapidly. So it's kind of hard to plan when you don't really know what's coming our way. So the way of being and the lessons within that is to really be in deep flow and in full presence, and to open up your intuitive ears and eyes and modes of receiving so you can be available and present to the messages that are coming through for you, and to really pay attention. So huge for right now for everybody. So I just wanted to speak into that. But back to the rest of the over 200 episodes, there's lots of interviews and solo episodes and musings and lessons and old moon musings that I did with Megan that are still relevant and perennial as well, even if they're for old moon phases and times and dates. So I hope that you can, whether it's binging on it or taking little doses here and there at your pace, I encourage you and invite you to get to know, feed your wild a little bit more. So thanks for listening and becoming a listener and a part of this collective energy and field. In this episode, we want to get into this new moon in Taurus. And I'd mentioned I love Taurus season. I also just love Taurus folk and people in general. I think almost every major partner in my life, whether it was a romantic partner, non-sexual life partner, even business partners, so many have been Tauruses. And there's just something about you guys. I love you so much. And let's take a look at what this new moon in Taurus energy really can teach us and invite us into in this time, especially with this solar eclipse. So here we are, April 30th is the new moon in Taurus. And, with new moons, I've mentioned this a lot. These are really opportunities for something new to come in, to plant seeds. And solar eclipses are kind of like big new moons, like really, really big new moon energy. So here we have really big newness, opening up of opportunities and windows and doors and new paths for you. The big theme of the last full moon was power and spiritual transformation, and this will continue into this new moon. Eclipses are jumps. They're like quantum jumps, if you will, to get us back onto our path of destiny. What I've learned from many astrologers and my teachers is to not necessarily do magical practices or manifestation work or rituals on eclipses, and rather let the eclipses work on you. So the so-called work here is to get fully present, and in flow and open to what source has available to you, what the universe is to bring to you in this time, and also to check your mode of receiving. So checking in with your heart and see if your heart is open and your body and your field is open to receiving. Because I think a lot of times we're not. Unconsciously, subconsciously, we block ourselves from receiving that which, the very thing that we want within our lives or the experiences, right? So I think every eclipse really can present an opportunity to kind of do this check again. Even check in with your body. So we're talking about Taurus. Taurus is all about the body and earth. Taurus also rules the throat and the thyroid. So there's something here about checking your metabolism, your temperature, right? Your voice, your capacity to receive. So when we're talking about voice and throat, it's not just about your words and what's coming out of you, right? And your actual voice as you speak, but it's also about your ability to receive the information and messages in that center. So the throat chakra center. I have an entire program on this called Feed Your Wild Voice. If you haven't heard of it, I'm excited to bring it back in a new way, which I will talk about later in this episode. But we focus all on how to feed your wild throat chakra, right? So like that voice center that contains so much energy. And when we're looking at human design, the voice center the throat center is one of the most important centers because it's literally your manifestation center. It's how things can be created. We can look at that as it relates to magic and spell binding and spell making. We speak things into being. So the power of the word is so important. And I want you to pay attention to, number one, how you speak to yourself. So that includes your thoughts, right? What's in your heart versus what's in your mind. Pay attention to all the different voices that are in circulation in your field. And just notice. You don't have to judge. You don't have to change anything right now. But part of our capacity to receive is by also paying attention to and shifting the voices that are inside within, that we carry. They may not even be our own voice, right? They could be the voice of a caretaker, a parent. It could be a voice of society. It could be the voice of some teacher that either inspired you or hurt you. You know, we carry a lot of these voices, and whether they were supportive or traumatic, we carry them in our bodies and in our field. And so it's really important that you distinguish which voices are yours, which are not, and then start to look at the narrative that is being played out. Is it a narrative of victimhood? Is it a narrative of not good enoughness? That is so huge as it relates to blocking our ability to receive, right? Our self-worth. And here, Taurus is all about self-worth. And this is an opportunity for us to get really clear and honest about our experience in this particular area on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment, minute-to-minute basis. So that's number one. I just want you to pay attention and to tune in. Pay attention to the voices and the words and the narrative that you are telling yourself that are maybe playing on autopilot. And most of the time they are. It's so quiet, or we're so used to it and it's so automatic, like negative automatic thoughts, as an example, that the tape is playing and we think we don't have control over it, because it's on autopilot. But we can change that. And the first thing that it requires is for us to pay attention and to be aware, become aware of that. So that's my invitation to you. Number one, with this new moon and this solar eclipse, all in Taurus. And the other thing that I want you to pay attention to is your body. So number 2, Taurus is really about the earth, the earthliness of ourselves as well, and our bodies. And our bodies are earth. We're made up of the same things that makes up the earth and the stars and the cosmos. So how can we start to tune in at the body level? And when I talk about intuition, and I do a lot of lessons and teachings on intuition, and when I used to do one-on-one Akashic readings, so much would come in at the body level for people. It's really critical that we remember how to intuit using our bodies. So that means getting really comfortable with the discomfort that you might feel being in your body. I know that on a personal level. I have, and it's all over my chart too, right? I came in on this earth with not a ton of earth influences, no major planets in earth signs. Of course, we all have all the signs in our chart, but I don't have many major influences there. And I have a lot of water, fire, and air, especially air. So for me, it's really challenging, and it's a daily practice to remember to be in my body, because it's so easy for me to come up and out, to float, right? Akashic field, receiving and channeling, literally floating out of my body, astral projection, all that kind of good stuff. And while that's all well and good and fun, and for me, it's been also beautiful gifts in my life, and it has taken me out of my body for a very long time. And so my practice and part of my dharma and my path and my work with a capital W here is to be that earthly human as I can, because that is also such a huge part of our receiving and our ability to intuit and to connect. And our nervous system, right? That's a big part of our nervous system, is sort of this interface between the energies and our physical bodies. So becoming comfortable with that discomfort, because I know that for many of us, especially if you're highly sensitive, highly intuitive, it can be uncomfortable. If you've experienced challenges or traumatic experiences, it could be really uncomfortable to be in our bodies. And so that's number 2, is to what in the ways that you are able to access and bring into your experience right now, what are the ways that you can be in your body? Maybe it's not even starting with your own body. Maybe it's starting with an animal friend, right? Your pet or someone else's pet, and just petting their dog, for example, or your kitty if you have one. And just getting that sort of connection to an earthly body, because our animal friends are so wonderful at this, right? They can't help it but be so in their bodies. So that can be an anchor and also a pathway to starting to get comfortable with being inside your own body. And then I would start to pay attention and ask, body, what will you have me know? Where will you have me go? And bring your attention to where your body wants you to go as it relates to your body. Maybe your body wants you to go to your feet because your feet have been hurting. You've been standing on your feet for so long, walking all over the place. Maybe you stand or walk for work. Or maybe it's your back. Maybe you've been carrying such a huge load. For me, it's been my upper back area because I've been carrying my baby. And I've been carrying him a lot, and he keeps gaining weight, and it's a new experience, right? And so while that is an honor for me to be able to do that, and I'm so grateful that I can, it's also bringing up a lot as it relates to my load, my ability to take care of my posture, how I stand. So the second thing is to, ask your body about that, to get back into your body and to pay attention to the messages and any signs or symptoms even that come up, because symptoms are really your body's way of speaking to you and telling you that something is off, right? And then we have to kind of go down the rabbit hole and figure out what's at the roots, the many roots of what is going on the outside or presenting as a symptom, and then tend to that. But first, we have to be present and be in our bodies. So that would be my next invitation for you. And those are two really big ones. They seem so obvious, but I really want you to take this seriously for this particular new moon and eclipse, because there is a lot that's going to shift and happen on an energetic level, and you might see this manifest in your life. And I really want you to be present for that and to be open and present and in flow with what Source wants to bring, and for you to be able to receive all the goodness and beauty that you deserve. The planet Uranus is also really active in this time. That this is the planet that brings in the surprises and the shocks, and all of that is in the name of liberation. And liberation has been an ongoing theme from our guides in almost every Akashic channeling that's come through. So the liberation process, there's a lot to say about that, clearly, because it's almost in every reading. But Uranus is a huge player in that. And Uranus can give us fresh perspectives on things, the things to focus on. So Uranus is in Taurus until 2026. So we're at 2022 right now. For the next 4 years, Uranus is in Taurus. This has to do with Earth, right? Food and agriculture. So connection with your food, growing food, I think is really, really important and probably critical over the next 4 years. Also, your voice and your throat and your thyroid, if we're looking at the physical layers. Big, big themes over the next 4 years around shifts here, invitations to practice the pathway to liberation in these areas. What does that look like for you? So a really mundane example would be to grow your own food, whether that's something that you can do in the city, like on your windowsill, bringing in some herbs and some greens, some baby greens, or actually having, some backyard chickens if you're able to in the city. And if you are able to, in a larger sense, in more of the countryside, to grow more food, be in community with others so that you can share in your food growing and tending. If you have animals, this is a pathway to liberation, so to speak, in this area. Because as we probably all know, our food has been co-opted by corporations. And so if you look at the path that we've been taken on, this trajectory, we've been imprisoned really with the way that food is presented to us now, because who knows how to grow all sorts of foods anymore? Not that many people. Well, especially in the Western world. I would say in the rest of the world, these traditions and these ways of knowing and might still be there, are probably still going because they have to. But when we look at the ways that we've commercialized food, and now like all of the chemicals and sort of plastics and gosh, just like all the new inventions and stuff coming out as it relates to food, it's taken us out of our true relationship, that like earthly Taurus relationship with food, hands in the dirt, knowing where our food comes from and being a part of the growth process with that. So taking that back into your power is a form of liberation. We can also look at this as it relates to voice. And what I've mentioned thus far, looking at the voices that you carry and really starting to get acquainted with your inner voice, your true voice and your intuitive voice. That is also another path of liberation when we look at it in this Taurus view. So if there's something that you've been working towards for a long time, as it relates to these areas, this eclipse may just really bring in either rewards of your hard work or bring you deeper into that path. And you can take advantage of that, but you have to be available to it. So when I take a look at the themes over the past few years and the cosmic influences and sort of like the astrological projections and everything that's going on, it's very clear that the old world is collapsing. I continuously get messages about our experience of the quantum jumps, especially with eclipses coming through, new parallel worlds and existences that are being built right now as we speak, as you listen to this. And there's the question here of, what is your place in this? How do you want to experience this huge shift? Now, Venus, also the ruler of Taurus, Venus, the planet, is active here too. Venus is in Pisces, which means that it's exalted. Exalted, basically, you could say it means that it's operating at its best. Okay, so it's a really good placement. And there's a triple conjunction. And in Pisces, when we look at it, there's Jupiter. And Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. And then there's Neptune, and Neptune is the modern ruler. So this is very special because this is juicy. There's a lot of energy here in this like Piscean energy connected to Taurus. And yes, you can think romance and love. So definitely this can bring in love, beauty, harmony, especially in the areas where this is falling in your chart. So you can take a look at your birth chart, maybe work with an astrologer and take a look at the degrees and take a look at where the degrees, so Venus and Jupiter and Neptune, look at the degrees in Pisces and where it falls in your chart and the house that it falls in, because that can bring a bit more information around how this type of energy is going to influence your experience in this time. So make sure to check that out, pull out your birth charts, and to do that can be really fun and extremely helpful. But this energy, so this is also about creativity and spiritual perception. So as I was talking about intuition, this experience of transcendence, oneness can be connected to this too, your bliss, right? So while this solar eclipse, yes, there can definitely be shock, surprise, unpredictability, and intensity, potentially. But, with Uranus, we tend to see those things. This also has an energy of beauty and spiritual expansion at the same time. So, again, some themes: Taurus associated with self-worth, your ability to receive in this time. So bringing attention to where you're holding your worth and to any known or hidden feelings of unworthiness, looking at your voice, looking at your inner voice, and also your path as it relates to liberation, right? Where all of this is falling within your chart, but also your ability to connect with your body and intuit, and through that experience that transcendence and that sense of oneness. And really, this is about being so in tune with yourself, your higher self, your guides, and your soul path. I think that so much of what we're experiencing over the past few years is really like, I guess you could say, a huge Saturn return moment for everybody, which is like kicking us all in the ass to get us in alignment and onto our path and onto the path of liberation. So all of this is an invitation. You can experience it in this way, but you have to do your work, and everybody's work is different, right? And the first thing is to really get to know, with a capital K, yourself, to know thyself, and to know the work that you are here to do. So I'm excited when it comes to my work to bring in more of what I feel is contributing to this collective experience. I am, as a healer, always called to support people and to be of service. But for this year, 2022, I'm really being pulled to work more with the practitioners and other healers, and to support you. And one of the ways that I'm working to do that is to support you in connecting to your intuition and your intuitive gifts. So everybody has their own intuitive gifts. Everybody is intuitive, if you didn't already know that. And it's really just about learning what your innate intuitive capacities are and getting really clear on that and bringing your attention there, because where your attention goes, the energy flows and it will then expand. So part of my work over the past couple of years, as I've worked with more and more practitioners, what I've really been seeing is this huge collective call to so many healers and practitioners to step out of the spiritual closet, okay? To step out of the come out of the spiritual closet and to wave your intuitive freak flag and to say yes to your higher calling and your soul path, which most definitely includes bridging all of what holistic health really is, right? So the spiritual and the intuitive and the Akashic and all of that with the physical and the mental, emotional, with the earth, with the very practical things that you are doing, with science. And science to me is all of that. I mean, science is extremely intuitive, although it's not the way that science has been practiced by the Western world over the past several decades. But that's another topic for another time. I am here to assist you, if this sounds like you, in getting to know what your path is really for you as it relates to your work, the work with a capital W, and how you are here to show up in service as your highest self, so that we can really bring in this new earth, this more beautiful world, as Charles Eisenstein would say, into being, and to continue to build these parallel worlds and existences, and to make quantum leaps together in the name of healing and beauty and growth and love. So part of that work for me, what that looks like, is opening up doors to a group mentorship program. So I used to do one-on-one mentorships. They were not groups. They were more focused on a single person, so being that one-on-one and journeying together and really diving deep. And what I am being steered toward now is bringing together all of these incredible people and healers and practitioners and bringing them together into a collective coven, so to speak, within a group mentorship. And those that are really called to step onto their intuitive and spiritual path as it relates to their work as a practitioner. So if you are a nurse, a doctor, therapist of all different kinds, a body worker, I mean, the list is limitless, right? If you are here to be in service and you are practicing already, you're a practitioner, herbalist, nutritionist, coach, and you want to bring forth your intuitive and spiritual gifts, you are being called to step it up in a really expansive way. And you want to do that now because it's part of your soul path and calling. Then I invite you to join me in the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway this year. So I will be opening up doors to a pre-sale. So these are opportunities and spots to get in at a much lower price point, because this is the first time. This is like a beta version, okay? We are working together and I'm really excited to put this together. I'm allowing our guides and source to guide me and to guide us in doing so. And it's going to include literally all of my trainings and programs that I have done. I'm putting them all into this program. So you will receive access to my Akashic transformational training. You'll learn how to read the Akashic Records, how to channel. So to do so for yourself and to do so for others as a practitioner. You are going to get access to Feed Your Wild Voice. So this is going to be a huge aspect. That's a program that I have, and it's not a little program either. These are huge programs that you will get access to through this group live mentorship that we'll be doing. And I'm going to talk much more about what this actually looks like. But one of the biggest challenges that I see intuitives, healers, practitioners, helpers, and creatives facing, and it's also been responsible for really untold tragedies, devastation, and destruction. It's really allowed us to get into this crazy global mess with massive imbalance, inequality, and environmental destruction, and exponential rates of chronic dis-ease, and so on and so on and so forth. It's the silencing and disconnection of your voice. And so a huge aspect of this work and you getting out there into the world and doing your work is by activating your wild, innate voice, to connect with your innate wisdom and trust yourself, to expand your inner hearing, whether that's telepathy or hearing your guides, to courageously express with integrity and honesty, to gain clarity so that you can become a clear channel and experience major shifts in your external world by shifting your internal world and breaking through old patterns. That's what we're going to be working on. And Feed Your Wild Voice is all about that. And we're going to go much deeper in the bigger group mentorship program, the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway. You're also going to get access to Feed Your Wild Gut. So as you know, and you've heard me say this numerous times before, if you're a listener, the gut is so incredibly important as it relates to your overall health, but also your soul path and knowing your guidance system and knowing where you're going in this life. So these two pieces, that's why I created those two programs first of all the centers, the gut and the throat voice center, because they are so critical when it comes to your intuition and manifestation. So meeting these two worlds, your inner and your outer world, and they mirror each other as well. They work together really well. So you're going to get access to my Feed Your Wild Gut program too. And together as a group, we're really going to be looking at sort of three phases. The first is mapping and assessing and looking at some root issues, if you will, for the practitioners. So if you're coming in and you yourself, you might be experiencing your own health challenges that are chronic, or perhaps you are experiencing a lot of resistance in coming out of that spiritual witch closet, if you want to call it that, and really stepping onto your soul path. Maybe you don't have a lot of clarity around that. Maybe you don't have a lot of, we'll say, self-trust or self-worth. Maybe you don't think that you're good enough or that you're worthy enough of really being that for that guide for others and doing this work and saying yes to that calling. We're going to take a look at all of that. So the first phase is mapping. So we're going to map and plant seeds by assessing. We're going to uncover your intuitive gifts. What are ways that you can know what your intuitive gifts are? You probably already know your top ones, but I'm going to take you through a few processes to really uncover that so that you can start to practice and to bring your attention to those and expand them. We're also going to look at what the path, this roadmap, build a roadmap of where you are today and where it is that you want to go, and to connect with your guides so you'll have access to all the trainings to begin to, number one, have intuitive tools if you wanted to work with Akashic Records, although that's not the only way to access information, but it is one way that has been really beautiful for me to bring in and to utilize and to teach. And so that's what I'm going to make available to you. We're also going to take a look at what are the blocks and limiting beliefs that are in practice right now, in your experience, in your field, in your ecosystem as it relates to your mindset, okay? These are huge because so often we have blocked ourselves or we have been blocked by outside forces because of our light, because you're a light worker, because you're a healer, because you are here to utilize those gifts that have been blocked to literally change the world. And there's a lot of reasons why we ourselves would block ourselves for that on a subconscious level, and why there's external forces that want to stop us from doing that, of course. So we're going to take a look at what those are and go on this exploration trip and journey together, and to really dig deep and discover what those are so that we can begin to unravel them and open up those pathways of knowing so that you're no longer blocked. And I cannot stress how much can change. Talk about quantum jumps and leaps when you can dissolve or shift these blocks that we have. Huge, huge. So this is where we begin, and we must begin before we go into really bringing in self-care, nourishment, and tending to the nervous system. So this phase I call Healer, Heal Thyself. And this is all about cultivating practices for yourself that are supportive and protective as you do this type of work and you start to transition. You know, maybe you have a conventional practice as a therapist, as a psychotherapist, or as a nurse practitioner, and you want to bring in the intuitive piece, the spiritual piece, but you want to make sure you're doing so in a way that is supportive for both yourself and the person or the people that you will be working with. It's so, so important that we have energetic hygiene in place, that we have protection in place, that we have space. We know how to clear our space. We know how to create a field for this work to really thrive. So all of that will be in this next phase of Healer, Heal Thyself, because really it starts with you. It starts with you and your experience, your field, your place and space, and your nervous system. So we must tend to ourselves, because when you do this type of work, a lot is going to come through. It's going to come through you. It's going to come through the folks that you work with, and you need to build resilience. So this is imperative that we build that for ourselves. We build ways of caring for ourselves, healing ourselves, cultivating these practices and tools, and really nourishing and tending to our bodies and all systems and centers of ourselves so that we can continue to do this work and expand. And then the final phase is really taking all of this and bringing it into action. Okay, so this is where we bloom and reimagine. This is stepping into your power, your spiritual path, your purpose, your dharma, taking all the work that you've done and getting yourself to get out there and do the work and really implement it. So there's a lot within these 3 phases that we'll be guided through and going through. We're going to have weekly group mentorship calls where there'll be Q&A, there will be hot seat coaching. So if you have questions that are coming up for you, we're also going to have guest experts come in and doing amazing classes on very specific topics as it relates to all of this work, and so much more. So there's a bunch of different tools and practices that I'll be sharing. And not to mention, there's going to be an incredible community of healers coming together. And so you can support and practice with one another. And I cannot tell you how, just that alone is magic and worth the entire experience. So I'm thrilled to open up the pre-sale of this. This is for those that are ready to dive in, to jump into this beta version, and we're going to forge this journey together as the captains of this ship. It will take you from a practitioner, a healer hiding in the spiritual closet, to really saying yes to your highest calling, stepping out into the world as your highest practitioner self and bringing all of your expanded intuitive gifts into your practice and your work and your business so that you can create the soul-aligned, divinely led impact and success, because you deserve it, that you are meant to experience. This is a 6-month program, and we will begin our actual work together in the summer. So there are only a few spots that I'm opening up for this pre-sale before we open the official doors opening. And there's an application process to get into it. So I am inviting you, if this sounds really interesting to you, you're being pulled, you want to learn more, I invite you to go to the info page and fill out an application so that I can reach out and we can talk more about it. So this would be a way for you to ask all of your questions and get all of the nitty-gritty details about the program and the training and curriculum. Click the link in the show notes to learn more, or you can go to wildlyrooted.com/WIP. That's WIPP. It stands for Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway. So wildlyrooted.com/WIP. And that'll take you to the info page where you can learn more and fill out an application to get connected with me. Then we'll start a chat. There are no strings attached. There's no obligation once you fill out an application, but I really want you to, before doing so, really consider if this is the best next step for you. I'm so excited to invite you on this journey and to meet you there. All right, well, with all of that being said, I want to send you some big hug and love energy for this new moon in Taurus and solar eclipse, and sending you all the blessings for eclipse season, really going back and listening to the 2 steps that I want you to take for this time and to really open up to receive and be ready for some pretty spectacular shifts coming your way. Lots of love to you. Be well, and until next time. Hey there, I made something for you. One of the biggest challenges that I hear from people is that they are feeling stuck when it comes to their health. You're a smart, capable, and creative change maker, right? And you know what you should be doing for your health. So what gives? Well, it's not about willpower. And I wanted to create something that would help you to unlearn the things that are keeping you stuck so that you can get out of your own way and master the mindset of health. That's why I created Wildly Unstuck, where you'll learn the top 5 things that I have found to sabotage your health goals and what to do about them. You'll learn what it really takes to become committed and unstoppable when it comes to your health goals, and find the clarity you've been looking for so you know exactly what to do to get back into alignment. And I made it totally free. So if this is something that you want to dive into and create a vision and soul goals for your health and your life, and bring your gifts to the world, because we know that we need it, then I invite you to join us in Wildly Unstuck. You can find that at wildlyrooted.com/unstuck. I'll see you on the other side.